If you are an international candidate and you have visited an immigration advisor and you're eligible to go and do your job search in your destination country and you're struggling to land that job, you probably will find some value in this video. In this video, I'm going to go through the whole three-step method or 3V elite code that we use with our international candidates to help them land the offshore jobs, the international jobs within 30 to 60 days without applying for jobs online. This is the important part, because obviously if you're here watching this, then you have tried applying for jobs online and you've had no luck. You're probably getting eliminated by ATS systems. You are probably seeing those visa disclaimers, you must be here first, or you must have a visa to apply for this role. And that is keeping you stuck. It's keeping you invisible. So to counteract that, to help our candidates avoid those traps of the ATS systems, the visa disclaimers, all those issues, we've created a three-step method to help them land their international jobs. If we haven't met yet, I'm Zarélsie, an international career strategist and migration mentor from the Elite Career Mentor. And I have now helped hundreds of international candidates land their dream jobs abroad. And what I use is the three-step method, also called the 3V Elite Code, that we help our candidates to land their jobs without applying for jobs online. In other words, without getting stuck in those ATS system traps and the visa disclaimer traps. In this video, I'm going to take a 64,000 feet bird's eye view with you into this three-step method. So it's very high level, but it will explain how the elite candidates do it and how we help them land their jobs and avoiding those traps. The three-step method, also called the 3V Elite Code, is validation, value, and visibility. That's what the 3Vs is there for. Let me take you into my computer. I'm going to share my screen and share a little bit what that method entails, or the three-step method entails. Just keep in mind here, it's very high level, so it is not the detail. Otherwise, we're going to be here all day. But it will give you an idea of what you've got to do in terms of avoiding those traps and how to get through to your international employers and land that international job. So first, let me share my screen and take you into just the overview of the three-step method. So here on my screen, you can see three circles. It's the three steps of the three-step method. First is validation, our targets, and this is where we need to really make sure that we know what the candidate is targeting. In other words, what is the occupation that they are eligible for from their eligibility assessment, wherever they go in the world, that job that they're going to target in the job market. We take the information from an eligibility assessment to set up a job target. For example, in New Zealand, I just had a candidate through for IT. She is on the green list, but if she wants to hit a green list job in terms of IT project manager, then she needs to earn $65 an hour or more to be able to qualify for a green list visa. So if she wants to target the green list visa, we will need to go and take the information from the job market of what jobs like that looks like in the job market, then create a profile to match those jobs. More senior, more astute, obviously high-level jobs. So that profile needs to match that high-level job for that visa. If she wants to target accredited employer work visa, then she only needs to hit the market rate. That's from her eligibility assessment. So the job doesn't have to be at that level. It can be at the lower level. So her profile can match those jobs. Can you see how we take eligibility into job search strategy? So we must have an eligibility assessment first to see what the candidate qualifies for, to take it into job search strategy. When they have that, we can then go in the job market and we can go and target the jobs that match that eligibility. Then we go and have a look at what do those jobs require. Analyzing 200 to 300 job descriptions to make a complete list of all the requirements so we can match it. So that is a heck of a lot of work, but it gives us a picture of what to match. So if you want to do that, you will need to go and research those jobs that you're eligible for in your job market, in your destination country, and make sure that you have exactly a picture of what you need to match before you create a profile. You can't just put your stuff on a CV and LinkedIn and think it's going to match overseas. You need to know what you're going to have to match. Then we need to find the employers who offer those jobs. Now, obviously, different jobs at different levels can be offered by different employers. Also, in his situation, many candidate situations, they need a sponsor if they're international candidate. Some do, some don't. But if you do need a sponsor, we need to find the sponsors who offer those jobs. So that is another piece of work that you need to do. And yes, there are public lists of sponsors out there, but you also need to do some research in terms of where do they get their people. Less than 20% of them ever advertise jobs online. I've just worked with a caregiver in New Zealand. Around 4.5% of those jobs are advertised online. The other jobs you'll never see online. So we need to know where do those employers get their people from and how you get in front of them. So this first circle here is a piece of incredible, intensive research work. If we do it for a candidate we spoke, it takes 2 to 3 weeks full time for one of our consultants to do that work for that candidate. But that gives us business intelligence. It gives us a picture of the things we need to match. Okay, moving on. Once we have that information, then we create a profile to match what the jobs require that she's targeting or he's targeting, what the employers want. Here is the thing. You can't just put your stuff in your LinkedIn, on your CV, whatever you create, and think that they want it. You need to know what they need or what they want and then create something to match it. I'm going to show you some examples of star profiles and how the matching works, but keep that in mind. Not just your stuff, looking at what they want first, then creating a value profile. Now, what is a value profile? This is a profile where you prove your value. This is the most important part in the job market these days. CV alone is never going to land you your job overseas because CVs can be made by AI. Employees don't trust them anymore. So you need to create a value profile that proves your value and proves the skills that you have and also proves your excellence. In other words, saying, I am the best. I am the most valuable candidate. Therefore, you've got to have me. So with that comes a star profile. A star profile is created to demonstrate your value. Let me show you a couple of star profiles and how they were created with the information that we've researched from the employers in mind. So here is a star profile of Desmond. He's a lead carpenter, been in New Zealand a while. But look closely. When we created his star profile, it was very clear that he wanted to target very specific employers who are doing shop fit outs. Now, shop fit outs is something that they do in the retail industry. They're doing the fit outs into retail shops and also building cabins, employers building cabins. So when we created his profile, we targeted those employers, look at what they wanted, then create a profile, giving them the things that they want to see. So just his stuff, it is things that they want to see. So in his portfolio here on his featured section, we actually created visual things out of the work that matches what his employers overseas wanted to see. Make sense? So it's very important to do that. So that's Desmond. Here is Wayne. Wayne is a concreting specialist. So when he wanted to target employers, we created a profile that shows his concreting work. He's a builder. But he wanted to target employers in the concreting specialist niche. So in his profile, he shows his concreting work. It's not just anything, and also the skills that go with it. Make sense? Nika here. Let's go to Nika. She is a digital marketing specialist. She landed a job remotely in Australia. But what we wanted to do with her is very specifically, she wanted to target small businesses to help them build their business from the ground up. That's her specialization. And she was like, I want to work with businesses like that. So we went and looked for them, went and looked what they wanted, then created her profile in terms of that. And in her profile, she is showcasing the things that they want to see. Right in the middle of her profile here is an excellence award showing how she has built a business like that. No shit, Sherlock, hey? That is like, what does an employer want to see? How that she's done it for someone else. So if you look closely at her profile, you'll see that everything here is targeted towards saying to an employer who's looking for someone like that, I can do these things for you. But first we needed to look at what those employers wanted. By the way, These are short examples of her featured section items. But if you dig a little deeper, and this is where we bring employers when we put the profile in front of them in different ways, she has expanded information in her project section, showing exactly how she implemented those things. All of these guys have that in any way. Here is Sayed. He wanted to target very specific companies in terms of he's a chartered accountant, so he needed to target very specific companies, especially in auditing, etc. So risk, innovation, front and center, because that's what the companies that he's targeting wants. So all of the things here, financial reporting, risk management, all of these profile section items are targeted towards what those employers want to see, giving them examples of his work. Okay. And then in his expanded section in terms of his projects, we put those expanded detail there to show them more situation, task, action, result, star. But very importantly, you don't just give them anything. First, look at what they want, then do a skills analysis, gap analysis, create a profile to match what they want. By the way, skills analysis, gap analysis is what we go through when we work with candidates to be able to know what employers want, what they have, and where the gap is, how we can improve, and how the star profile needs to be displayed or demonstrated. Okay, let's go back to the 3V Elite Code process. Now we go back here. Now we've solved the problem of knowing what the employers want, knowing what the job targets require, creating a profile that is better than anyone else. Value profile. Okay, I'm now the most valuable candidate because I don't just have a list of skills on my CV. I can actually showcase how I'm excellent at these things. That's a value profile. This person is now the most valuable candidate, but they're still invisible. Remember, if they apply for jobs online, they're going to be knocked out by ATS systems or applicant tracking systems. They're going to see those visa disclaimers, even if it's accredited employer. Yes, you will still see them. You need to get around that, around the ATS, around the visa disclaimers. Where do you need to get? You need to get in front of the hiring manager inside those ideal employers. And this is where the third V comes in, visibility. For visibility, we operate a number of visibility strategies that are not applying for jobs online. We do not do that. Apply for jobs online, not going there, because the return on investment for that is 1 to 2%. We want a really higher hit rate. So we've developed a number of strategies that bypasses ATSs, that gets around the visa disclaimers, that gets right in front of those hiring managers. They are direct approaches where we go into the talent pools of those ideal employers that we have identified for that candidate. You can do that yourself as well. We use networking and relationship building. So with the ideal hiring managers, we create an audience of them. We put the profile right in front of them. I'm going to tell you a little story right here. Today is Wednesday, the 29th of October. On Saturday, we are traveling at the moment. So on Saturday, we were parked in a car park, and I had a call from one of my candidates who started 2 weeks ago. She landed in New Zealand 2 weeks ago. Before that, she had applied for probably nearly 100 jobs online and got nothing. And she said to me, I need to talk to you, please, because I've got an interview next week. And I was like, oh, wow, this is cool, because she just started with a 3V process, a step method about 2 or 3 weeks ago. That's really fast. And when I was on the call with her, the first words that she said to me was like, this was like magic. I built my value profile and people started contacting me. I did not do anything else. I did not apply. I didn't do anything. I just built my value profile we built the value profile for her, but she needed to upload some of those things onto her LinkedIn profile. She said the moment that I did those things, people started contacting me. And as I was sitting here waiting for your call, another person contacted me. I've got 2 interviews next week. So within those 3 weeks, no online applications, nothing, landed her those interviews. She's not alone. There's so many others that I can tell you the same story of. This is a function of visibility. Okay, so before that, she was still a valuable candidate. but she wasn't visible. She was invisible. So the visibility strategies are there to actually make you visible. And if you apply online and you get knocked out, you are being kept invisible. That's why these strategies are there, to get around those invisible blocks, the things that keeps you invisible. So direct approaches, like I say, I'm not going to go into the detail because it's really a technical strategy to get into the pools of employers where they hire from first. Networking, relationship building is building a network or an audience out of the hiring managers. And then influencer and other strategies are there to build hire on. Now, when we work with candidates, we take them through those strategies one after the other, and we layer them on top of another to increase the visibility. But each one of those strategies has KPIs. So they need to hit those KPIs so we can make sure that they do things correctly. Otherwise, we can't measure and fix things and tweak things and modify things. So we can't fix what we can't measure. So we need to be able to measure how they're doing to know what is working or not. So if you want to implement those strategies, you absolutely need to measure. How do you measure online job applications? How do you know when you're successful? You just get knocked out and that's it. You start again. So that's not a strategy. That's hope. And hope's not a strategy. Okay, so this is the 3V Elite Code. If we now know who these employees are, we know what the job requires, we give them what they want, we're well presented. Seriously, that's it. That's all it is. Okay, so don't just give them your stuff. First go and look what they want and then give them what they want and you're well presented. Then, if we know who they are and you work with only your ideal employers, clear, structured, laser-focused way to land those interviews. And this is what happens, like this candidate on Saturday. I've had a couple through this month with interviews. We've had about 8 interviews this month. We've had 2 job offers and we've had 2 visas approved. All of offshore. All are still offshore. So they've all followed this process. And they're in different countries in the world. But it is a very laser focused way of only working with the employers who hire people like you. Obviously, if you're an international candidate and you need sponsors, that's it. Nobody else. You're not fooling around applying for jobs online because you don't know who they are, if they are sponsors. So it's a very clear way with clarity. And best of all, if you're the most valuable and the most visible candidate, you will always be in front of the queue, no matter how long or short that queue is. And that's how my elite candidates always land their offers. And that's how they are so successful, 82% success rate, because there's nothing else here that can keep them away from the jobs. They know what they need what to give these employers need. They are the most valuable candidates with the most valuable profile that proves their existence, proves the validity, proves the eligibility, proves their value. And they are the most valuable that get through because they don't get knocked out by ATS systems. So how can you get into the Elite Career Mentor program? There's only one way. You cannot buy this online. You have to speak to me on a strategy consultation because I need a lot of your information to be able to know what will work for you. And in that call that we do, we go deep into these things according to your situation. So if you're interested in this, there's a link somewhere around this video below in the description, wherever. You can book a free strategy consultation with me. I have to warn you though, if you do not have an eligibility assessment and you're not an eligible visa-ready candidate, I can't help you. Sorry. You've got to go back and do that. So you've got to be at the point where you're visa ready. And if you're having those issues with being knocked out by ATSs, etc., then I can help you implement the 3-step system. By the way, if we work with people in the Elite Career Mentor program, all of this gets done for them. So I hope you found this valuable. This is the bird's eye view of the process we use, or the method we use to help our candidates land international jobs across the world. You can probably implement this by yourself, but if you want my help, go and look for that link and you can book a free strategy consultation with me. Take care.